Alright. Ooh, hello. Hello, everybody. Welcome into the stream. I know that we're getting started. Like I'm about to boot up the browser for everything. We're just kind of chilling until we get some people in, and we're gonna start in just a minute. So as soon as I'm ready, we'll start. Oh woo! Hey, bro. I'm gonna start in a minute. I'm just getting something to drink and getting everything ready. So I just got a message from somebody interested in in working with me. Like they do art and they're like they have no idea what they're doing when they're programming. So that's a kind of a perfect fit. So I might be hooking up with somebody as a partner for this game jam. Yeah, I wanna adjust the St. Jude bot. Give me 1 second. I need to go check the bot and make sure he does not St. Jude does not ping more too much. Oh, let me go and fix that. Let me go ahead and fix all of that because if you have any of those marked and like it leaves them in from last session. Update. There we go. There we go. Thank you, Wakan. Yeah, I actually need to see about. Let me go ahead and do something. Since. There you go, buddy. Enjoy the free power. You feel it rushing down to you from on high. I have the power. Alright, support center, auctions, teams, campaigns, setup, Discord bot. Not Discord bot, I don't need a Discord bot. I need the St. Jude bot. Twitch bot. Let's see here. Twitch chatbot. Connected Delta 5. Authorize. Ease. Chatbot every 15 minutes. Is there like a more like? I upped it to the maximum time. I can't make it ping any less than 15 minutes, so it can't go to like 30 or like 60, like, because I don't want to ping it that often, but 15 minutes sounds reasonable, so it doesn't ping every 5. Let's see here. I think we're good. I think I'm good to go ahead and start streaming. Let's go ahead and switch. Let's go ahead and switch into the actual what we're doing today. All right, guys. So let me. That's not right. I'm a PNG tuber. Who am I without my PNG? Do you know what PNG stands for, streamer? It stands for Portable Network Graphics. Here we go, guys. So we're gonna be basically watching the tutorials. GDevelop is like let me go ahead and bring you to the website and explain. I'll actually walk you through it right here. I'm gonna go to itch.io first, just to direct you to exactly what we're doing. So it's called GDevelop Big Game Jam 7. It'll basically be 9 days where the community opens up people to join the Discord, find people, like make a team, and like you have 9 days to, from the outside of the jam to produce a finished basically web browser game. It must use the GDevelop system, which is a good thing because like you don't have to like learn an industry standard thing like a lot of people are already using. So since a lot of people don't use GDevelop, I actually think this is ironically a good thing because like you are learning a system of software together with a team. Like a lot of newbie game jam guys can do this, learn a system of software together, which is actually a better skill than just using something you're familiar with. It like being able to learn a thing with your team together and like be able to like correlate which job you're gonna do, what you're gonna work on, like and coordinate is way better than like just always hopping in with what you're familiar with, because like the engine will switch from job to job, so like it's good to be able to be adaptable. And then we get the theme on the May the 16th, so May the 16th. So what is May the 16th actually? Let me see. That is a Friday. So we get it on a Friday, and then the game jam ends. Basically, there's a full week in between, and then it ends on a Sunday. Not the immediate next Sunday, or the Sunday after that, but the second Sunday after it starts. Games have to be published to be played on browsers. No extra hardware. They have to be in English. You may team up, and the English game itself must be made with the game jam period, and you must not submit any work or updates during the community voting period. You may use pre-made, publicly available purchase assets as well as GDA or any other assets you have the legal rights to use. Just remember to credit them properly. A lot of people will probably be using. There's like websites like Open Game Library and Open Game Art and stuff. I'll share the resources that I have. As I like kind of like find them again. I had to like rebuild my browser for the stream. I had to switch over to a different profile. I have my public and my private profile, but like I am basically going to be showing everybody like the open assets. But I am looking into working with a guy. I'm currently in conversation with him actually right now, and he's does art assets. So we may have a completely custom game. And it's actually a little bit better because I don't have to feel like I'm completely alone coming up with a good game idea, a design idea. We can both do the design part together. Do not write events specifically for this jam ahead of time. Creating games with other people is a fantastic experience. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that. Pics or the combo's not happening. No, I'm not doing that. go to HIO. I'm gonna go ahead and send him my profile. It is absolutely, completely blank because I am not an artist. I am a man who makes the code. I write the matrix. Alright, best practices: how to make a good game, 5 tips to make mistakes to avoid. So we'll look at all this. We're gonna go through their process. Example cases for pre-existing content. Acceptable is reuse of UI, reuse of private extensions, reuse of short snippets, not acceptable. Reuse of an existing project. Yeah. I think we're all going to be making everything from scratch. All games will be rated in the following categories: fun and game design. Do you want to continue playing? How enjoyable is it? Do you actually want to keep playing it? Audio, how nice does it sound? Does it implement? Yeah, you want some crunch. You want every beep boop on every like menu item and stuff. Graphics, how nice does the game look? Luckily, I will not have to be worried about that half. Originality, innovation. How often do you say, "Wow, I never expected that" when playing it? Okay, that is one side. I am not confident in any of my abilities. Let's be honest. I'm streaming this to show you that even if like I'm not coming at it completely blank for any of the viewers here. I am not a complete novice. I did go to college for about 8 years ago. I attended for about 4 years at my university for computer media and computer science. So I have a background in programming. I have been programming since I was like 16. I have experience in like several different languages: C, C#, Python, Java, JavaScript, Dreammaker, if anybody's familiar with Beyond. But like that is like, and I know data structures and algorithms and things like that, but I am so rusty as to be basically new. So my encouragement, the reason I'm streaming this, the reason I'll be posting this to my channel as like a recorded stream, like publishing it, is like I want to prove to anybody that if you're completely new at this, if you actually have time, you set time aside, and you just get to it, like actually just focus on the doing of it. Like you don't need a degree, you don't need anything else. You can just sit down and do it. You can make games. Like I want to prove that to you and to prove that to myself. Is that fair, viewer? So like, don't worry about this too much. And the theme is what they're going to be releasing, the theme. So don't worry about this too much. The most important thing is you participate, have fun, stick to the game jam. Once the submission period is closed, you'll have 1 week to rate other people's games. Look at the community's highest rated games to decide the winner, though if there's a hidden gem in the rest, we might pick it to be on our winner list. The 10 games with the highest score will be community winners. All developers in creating these games will get the opportunity to be considered for judges' awards. Will receive 1,000 in-engine credits, read the fact for distribution, and each will be Game Jam winner Discord rule. Sweet. All 5 games picked for the Judges Awards will be featured on GD Games. So you actually have to post it to GD Games too. GDevelop Games, and there's a lot of like very clean looking games down here. Like,
don't throw that in the trash.
Is someone there?
Down here, baby.
A typical complaint with any browser game, especially
but I was just
seeing as I'm
Keeping
getting an
food
ad.
waste out of the trash and out of the landfill is better for the planet.
Really?
It also keeps your kitchen cleaner and fresher. That trash is getting kind of ripe. Just saying.
Nothing grinds more types of food waste than
The first complaint would be like, well, this is just like a jankware or flashware site. I don't actually believe that. I believe that like you got to keep the lights on somehow, and this is like not everyone's gonna get an inroad into a company that's immediately gonna be like the grandest company ever. Not everyone's gonna work at a Bethesda or who made Cyberpunk, CD Projekt Red. Not everyone's gonna work at like a AAA studio known for the biggest, best stuff immediately. So like, the important thing is to actually just make games and learn and get experience and like get them out there and get them on a platform. But like I have no doubt, because I looked at the quality of the polish of this game before I opened it. Like, games automatically save. You must save. Save button. Cool. Oh, it's dying as I'm touching it with my fist. It's dying, it's dying, it's dying. Cool, it opened. And like playing each game will like, as you play them, it's easy to critique other people's stuff, but it like does give you an idea for like what you want to include and what you want to fix. I'm at a humble merchant selling wares that is brave enough to venture in the hole, just me. Each of the randomly with their diamond name one of the best. Okay. So what I don't like is there's no other button in this game. It's like a twin stick shooter, so. So it's like a twin stick shooter, except you just stand on somebody to attack them. So there's not any crunch. There's no. It doesn't appear that there's any sound effects. So like there's no actual feedback. Like there's visual feedback, but like there's no. The combination of multimedia like makes you feel an impact. The combination of like feeling a button press like makes you feel connected to when an action like happens. It would feel more satisfying if I could use twin sticks and then press a button and make the punch go out. So, but like it's easy to critique, it's hard to do. So, that being said, that's the website things are going to be going on. Best practice when publishing games. You want a good thumbnail. First impression. Promotional stuff is one of the best things for impression. The second is loading time. A game that launches quickly will have better retention rate because people will not leave in the first few seconds due to long loading time. Yeah, that's fair. When you start creating a game, you're eager to share it quickly with everyone. How doing so can lead to several issues. Keep your gameplay loops simple. If a game becomes too complex, introduce gameplay features correctly. Yeah, okay. Don't overlook the importance of menus if they're important for people to see. Hey, what's up, buddy? We're just going over the game jam entry and like and then I'm gonna get into like doing the tutorials. I'm basically explaining that like I used to go to uni for this. That is gonna be the fair like caveat of like everything. I went to uni for this. I have experience. I have programmed since I was 16. But all in all, I have not programmed in about 8 years. So I am rusty. I have forgotten more than I remember. I might have learned more than some of you ever will learn, but like I've forgotten nearly all of it. And like I think that makes me a fair point to say like anybody can learn game development. I am going to be a test case, basically. The only difference is like you might have to learn the algorithms later too. And apparently there is a first place, second place, and third place, and fourth place, and fifth place prize. So each one's going to get some euros. I'm not going to be able to spend those in our crazy land. Crazy Games distribution deal, 6-month gold subscription, Spine professional license, 2 copies of Ace Sprite. I don't need Ace Sprite. I actually own the software already, but like my teammate might need it. A copy of Kenny Games Deluxe all in one, and Asset Forge Deluxe. That's awesome. Crazy Games, Spine, Kenny. Kenny is an asset creator and game developer known for creating thousands of free. Let's look at this. Kenny, thousands of completely free game assets for you to get free assets. Oh, cool. I'm gonna be adding this to the bookmark bar immediately. Spine 2D animation software used to create scalable. Okay. Yeah, the American man. I don't spend them euro dollars. Them eddies. Don't overlook the importance of menus. Therefore, do not invent the wheel. Yeah, that's pretty much a good thing. Like reinventing the wheel. Like a lot of people will feel like I need to know how to create a quaternion myself, and it's like you don't, because if you ever build an engine, you need to learn calculus and everything, but there's usually a guy who's built an API for you, and he has spent way more time than you agonizing over getting that API functioning. So rather than rebuilding the API, just use it. If someone has built a quality functioning fast button and there's no specific deep level understanding of why you need to remake it yourself, use somebody else's. That's what APIs are for. They help you a lot. Game controls, use it configurable, the more options you add. A game that supports multiple devices give players the right to play however they like. Adding basic support for mobile is great. It can be achieved with multi-touch joystick. I am a joystick player. Our game is going to have controller support because as much as I know Bakan says he's a keyboard and mouse purist, people like to play games in a relaxing way with a controller. Does it ping every time? Yes, it does every 5 minutes. So let me go ahead and fix that. Game feel contributes to the player experience. A game that is enjoyable to play not only triggers emotions, but it provides. And like we talk about game feel a lot in designing courses, and that's what I miss the most, because like I feel like there's two things you can't really teach somebody. You can't really teach someone to like you can teach them about design, but you can't teach them like what feels fun or like what it's like to have a thing that you want to realize, like a fantasy that you want realized in a game. Like you can't teach them like they have to have engaged with the medium before to know like there's a dream living inside of you, or which is a fruity flowery way to put it. Um, there's a paper that talks about it. I don't want to go into like the academic stuff, but like there's a paper that talks about like essentially there are three angles to a game. There are three portions of a game, three layers to how you think about it. And like there is a drive that people come for. Like they want to create, or they want to adventure, they want to explore. Like everyone like um, there's a ludo. Ludo is the Greek word, or I think Greek or Latin word for play. There's a ludic reason that someone wants to engage with a game because we all have play come in from us as children. Ludo narrative is like the narrative of the play, like how the play engages with the story. But like the ludic drive is like what is this person's like way that they play, and like what kind of play engages them the most. So some people engage in simulation games because like the thing that's fun to them is like engaging with a tool, or like understanding a world, or like analyzing something. Or some people like narrative is why they engage. I am a narrative person. Like I come to a game to experience a different world. Some people, my cousin, a guy I grew up playing games with all the time. We were couch co-op buddies the whole time. He does not play games for that reason. He loves Diablo because like he's there for the mechanic. The story can be over. He can have played that game story one time and he's not bored with it. He will play it another 400, 500 hours. Me, if the story is over, yeah, I've kind of lost the drive for it, unless it's a particularly engaging mechanic. But game feel is one of those things that they tell you about, like that you can't really explain to someone. Just like a novel design, you can't explain. You can't teach someone. They just have to be problem solvers. The game's feel, animations, moments of contemplation, bouncing effects all matter. Static element on the screen is lifeless and easily overlooked. Bring it to life. This will grab attention and enhance the overall quality. Yeah, I dip a little in both. Yeah. Cringe. It's not cringe. Controllers are good. Alright. Chat notifications enabled. Trigger threshold. Let's say it triggers every 2 minutes. Like I'll set it to 120 seconds. That's enough that it doesn't. It's actually not 120 seconds. 360 times 5, 300 seconds every 5 minutes. Save setting? Okay. There we go. That'll update. Yeah, 21,000, and like that explains like you are engaged and hooked into the gameplay loop. Like, and that's one of the things we talk about in game design. Like, there is a core gameplay loop. Every game has a simple mechanic that you get outcroppings for, and some games are like an amalgamation, and like if you watch any different streams, I really watch I'm really invested in, have grown up with, and love Bethesda Studios. They have hurt my heart in the last couple of years, but like I in general love Bethesda Studios because I great game up with them and I want them to succeed. I'm critical of them because like I think you critique things for better, if you actually care about them to be better. But like they talk about in their development phase, like sometimes it looks like a schizoid game, and what they mean by that is like there's so many different gameplay loops, and that they zip them up and join them at the end, like at the last couple months of development. But there's so many different teams getting different gameplay loops. But the idea of a core gameplay loop is there's a core mechanic, like you do this, this happens, you do this, this happens, you do this, this happens, and like what the core idea behind a game is. Someone can definitely put it better than me. Not the AI though. Mechanics refers to how it works. Game math, what the does it like? So like this is related to the paper. Like these are the things they teach you in the intro to game design course. The mechanics, dynamics, and aesthetics. So mechanics are how it works, the back end, the databases, the algorithms, the calculations. Like it's super big in like tabletop games, like the calculation, the hit calculations, damage calculations, making the game feel right by like its weights and balances, and like you mathematically like analyzing things and like solving certain problems and making them feel like they happen enough, or they like you hit people often enough so you don't feel your character feels like he's actually skilled at combat or something. Aesthetics is like, why do you engage with the game? Good night, homie. Good night, Bakan. And then finally, like dynamics. Let me remember what dynamics is because I'm a little rusty on the definition. Again, it's been a while. Dynamics is the result of the mechanics in action. So like how the systems interact, and usually out of dynamics comes what's called emergent gameplay. Like you put all these systems in your game together. If you have more than one core gameplay loop, night, night hoodie. But like hope you guys have a good one. Thanks for coming in. So like basically you put these things together and they create like things. Emergent gameplay is the idea that like things that you didn't. Oh, no, I'm gonna say nighttime. Well, thanks for saying. It's the idea that things interact with, and so out of it emerges a gestalt or a whole that you didn't imagine when putting the pieces together. And the aesthetics is the end result, like the feeling or the sensation that you are trying to achieve that satisfies the reason the player came to your game in the beginning. Like so, like if someone wants to live in a world and build things, Minecraft satisfies that because its mechanics and dynamics allow you to. They are the underlying network that builds the aesthetic experience of being in a different world, building stuff. Like so let's see here. Let me quit wasting time. The games feel bring it to life. This will gravitate to.
So you want to make your game nice and juicy. Game juice, or Google Trends thinks that it's called game feel, are the tiny tweaks and effects that you put into a game that makes everything just feel better. It's the sort of thing that makes hits feel satisfying in One Finger Death Punch.
And actually, they like this is the reason. So it's important to like learn from everything. Like each medium is informs. Like in a culture, you don't consume one medium by itself. You consume mediums together, and you like people are usually literate in all the mediums available to them or that they are aware of. So like when they're teaching you game design, often they teach you in a lot of arts courses, and a lot of people who are like critical of the arts like say like, well, what's the point? I just want to learn to make games. It's because if you can learn from the environment around you, like the visual or auditory language, and what that means is like the library of things that they know, the tropes, we call it in writing. If you want to go to a website called TD Tropes, that'll explain it to you. But the cliches or like stereotypes or like shorthands that they use to communicate an idea. So like in movie, a jump cut transitions you. let me imagine a different movie making technique or film making technique. Collage or montage, like where you take a lot of disparate like video clips together and you put them together, like you transition between different either photos or you different like clips of video, and you either add music on top of it to even further enhance the effect. But like the idea is you're communicating an idea through the stacking of these videos. Each transition and each individual photo, like as a whole, says this montage communicates an idea. So like the different clips and videos of like Rocky training, as a whole, give you the sensation of you living in his week, like the week passing and him consistently training. And then when you draw from like musical language, you learn like when does it make something punchy, when it makes like a C sharp chord makes something feel sad, or like things like that. And you get better at game making as you get better at just learning to consume your media intelligently and learning to consume your media like a creator. And like, why did he do this? Like if you really have a series or movie or book or anything that you really love and you've read it or experienced it more than one time, and you really want to learn how to make it, you ask yourself, why did he do it this way?
Or shooting in Nuclear Throne. It's the sort of thing that takes an okay game and turns it into a great one. And so we're going to be going over this example, created by Sleeper Games, that's actually already in engine and you can see it for yourself. It breaks down the different parts of game feel that relate to combat or firing a gun. And we're going to start with hit lag, otherwise known as freeze frame, where something strikes something else, and on the moment of impact you freeze the game for a frame to give you a moment to appreciate the impact before going back to the regular speed of the game. So the easiest way to do this in GDevelop is by going to the event where the collision happens, changing the timescale to 0 or close to 0, waiting for a fraction of a second, and then changing the timescale back to normal. Personally, I think this works best for melee games, or to emphasize when you as the player get hit.
It's also really good for a crit.
Next
like,
is
you can
visual
have
effects.
regular strikes that have like blowback, and then you can really emphasize a crit by like a shing moment, like an auditory like shine like on a gun, and then like you do the pause and like it's a critical strike because it feels like it really hitched in the moment air, like it hung in the air for a moment and everyone saw it and it was really cool.
Usually particles or a sprite that's drawn to show sparks or splatter or gusts of wind and things like that that help you sell impact. It is definitely possible to go overboard with particles, but having them in just the right place will definitely help sell the effect. We already have a video on particles, so we'll move on to the next point. Next is hit flash, which can be a tinting of the character or a flashing of their visibility. Usually a tinting of the character is used on enemies, and for the player, it's the flashing of visibility, because the player will definitely want to know where the enemy is on screen at all times. And to tint the color of a character, there is a tint action, but the easiest way to do it is with the flash extension, where you just install the extension, and then add it as a behavior, and then set the duration of the flash in the action when you trigger it. Next up is wobble, also known as squash, stretch, and shaking. The easiest way to achieve this is with the object shake extension, where you install the extension and then apply it as a behavior to the object that you want to shake. And then when you trigger that shake, you determine how you want it to look. If you can't get the exact look you want with the object shake extension, you can use tweens. And for that one, we've made another video. And then the second last one is damage text, which isn't going to apply to all games, but any game where the damage that you do varies based on how strong you are or your enemy is, you will probably want damage text. So the easiest way to create damage text is just to make the object, and then at the point of collision, use the action create an object, then modify that text object to show the variable you want it to, and then tween its Y position upwards, and then toggle the setting to delete the object when the tween is finished. Different games will have their text tween differently, but that's just a matter of setting up different tweens to match the style of your game. And then the last one is screen shake, which is massively important.
Yeah.
Screen shake gets used all over your game, like at points of collision, or when heavy doors open. And this is probably the easiest one to use of all, because you just install the extension, and then go to the point where you want it to trigger, and use the action to shake screen, and then set the duration to be what you want it to be. These techniques are used in basically every modern game. Some games use them more subtly, and others...
And what's the thing is, like, you don't... I haven't been creating in a while, so I'll have to relearn the library of like the game language. It's easy if you are also a player of games, like a lot. You just think and pause for a second and like think, and like if you haven't thought critically about it, you might not feel like you know it even if you do play games. But like spending a few minutes on it, it'll quickly become secondhand, and you can even do like no one's gonna like fault you for like doing a search and be like, when do I use this effect? But like, I'm gonna have to do that myself. Like, when do I use this effect? Even though I have played plenty of games, I had to watch someone else make watch someone else's Twitch and be reminded of a visual language I knew. I darken my PNG when I'm not talking because that visually communicates to you I'm not active. I knew that myself. I knew that visual language when I see it on another person's stream, but it didn't click with me until I saw it. So like that kind of thing will happen. Like, you just kind of gotta look it up.
Just go over the top.
The thing is, once you become more consistently conscious of this, like you don't have to go look up anymore. Like, you will think ahead of time. Like, I want to make the player feel like the room is heavy. Like, oh, I'll shake the screen.
And now to learn how to use particles or tweens,
We're not gonna do that right away. We're gonna start following the basic tutorial. Make your game more engaging. To keep the players engaged, your game should evoke emotions such as joy, fear, stress, or sense of reward. This is the aesthetic reason you come. Like I mentioned before, reward the player in the level or a challenging moment. That's also a narrative thing, pacing. So like in my tabletop games, for example, every episode doesn't need to be like a boss fight. There needs to be stretch and squash in between. There needs to be for Stargate and Star Trek, for example, after like the Borg come, or like you run to the Goa'uld, one of those like really dangerous, like the head of like the alien race that they're fighting. The next episode is usually a funny episode because it gives the player some time to decompress. They also do this in horror films, where like they do a sting, and then they build up tension and they do a fake sting, and they fake out sting you, where like they play a chord or a note that's supposed to scare you, and then they jump you with like a cat hopping out of a bookshelf or something like that, and you're like, it breaks the tension and lets you relax a little bit, and then they can build it up again, and like you won't know if the villain's actually not there or he's gonna be coming next. Another positive way is competition. Yes, leaderboard.
So you want to make your game better. Okay. These first 4 points are things that every game will do in one way or another, either in an over-the-top way or a subtle way, depending on what kind of game it is. And those mostly relate to game juice, or feel. I've
never heard it phrased game juice. It's
things on the list are about getting players and retaining them. So the first thing we're going to talk about is object shake. Game juice or feel is all about trying to make it so that when the player does something, they see or feel a reaction. So you'll see right here how boring it is when the player is shooting the ghost and there is some recoil and there's some knockback, but there's no shaking. So in GDevelop, it's really easy to add this. You just go to your properties manager, go down to functions and behaviors, and then search for a new extension. Search for shake, and you'll see that there's 2 there, one for camera and one for object. Both of them are very useful, but we're just going to use the object one for now. Click install, and then go to the object you want to shake, and add it as a behavior. And then go into the event sheet, and slot in the shake action, and fill out the variables. So now when I preview that, we've given a very small amount to the gun, and more to the ghost. So when you shoot the gun, it actually recoils in the character's hand, and when you hit the ghost, they wobble. But now the next thing that is kind of like shake is tweens. You've probably seen tweens everywhere. Usually you'll find them at the very beginning of the game in the start menu, when you hover over an object and it grows to show you that it's something you're supposed to press on. So in GDevelop, this is also very easy. I'll show you by putting this button into the scene, putting it onto the UI layer, and then we just go to the object and add the tween behavior. This is one of the default behaviors, so you don't need to add it as an extension. And now if I go to the event sheet, I've made these two events. One for if the cursor is on the menu button, and one for if it's not. If it is, we do this action, to add a object scale tween. So for this all we do is give it a name, in quotations, tell it what scale to go to, so 1.5 means it'll be 50% bigger, and then pick from a huge list of different kinds of tweens. Personally, I like to use the ease out bounce.
So if anybody's curious about a coding thing, this is unrelated to what he's talking about, but you see how like the first letter of that first word is lowercase, and then it's capitalized for the first letter of every next word that's concatenized or like put together in a string. That's called camel case. It's like the industry standard for programming in like almost pretty much every language. Like when you name a variable and you want to name something really specific, so like you don't forget it, and like when it comes up in your code, like it's readable and enough that it's like informative. You write it in camel case, so it's like a format that's like good for people.
And then we pick a duration for this tween to take. So now when I preview that, you'll see that the buttons expand when I put the cursor over them, but shrink again when I take it away. And that's because of the second event, where I changed the scale to 1:1, which is the original default scale. Tweens can be used all over the place for colors, to size, to positions, and so on.
Yes.
Sound effects. And I'm going to show you 3 ways to do this. Firstly, we go back to the event sheet and add an action when we hover over the button. And then we type in play and select play a sound. From here you can add your own sound effect, but we're going to create one using JFXR, which is built into GDevelop. We'll just click on the blip or select button until it gives us a sound effect that we like. When we do get one that we like, we just change the name and press save. So now when I hover over these buttons, the way to add game feel or juice is to make it so that when the player does something, they get a response. That could be a visual effect or a sound, or both. And the more of these you have in your game, the more fun it's going to be to play. But sound effects that get played often are going to cause a problem.
And what's interesting in a game, like I will say, like I will repeat this when we get to the point. Probably I'll repeat a lot of my points because I have a person in my life who used to say a phrase to me, and it's a random Latin phrase, but I remember it because it was a demonstration in and of itself. Like it was a self-demonstrating lesson. He used to tell me inculcation, inculcation, inculcation. Inculcation is another word for repetition, to teach. And he would repeat that over and over and over, and he said inculcation, 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 basically saying when you repeat something, you teach someone. You repeat it over and over and over. I will repeat things all the time in my streams, probably just because I have the same lessons bouncing around in my head, and the idea pops up over and over to me. And like even if you know it, it bears like repeating it again because it drives it further in your memory. So like all these things work together, but like the thing I was gonna say is like not only do you pull from a library of like film mediums and visual mediums and narrative mediums like tropes and stuff, and like sound clips and like sound mediums, you create a medium within your game. So like when objects are marked yellow in let's say for example what was the seminal game in like parkour, I can't remember its name. It was parkour, a video game, really big deal when it came out. Mirror's Edge. Mirror's Edge builds a language visually where every time you see a yellow line or something red, like it is a visual media, a visual shorthand in the game to tell you run this way. That actually stems from like an old Half-Life 2. Yeah, I love Mirror's Edge too. Like it highlights visually to you in a simple, like they simplified the visual language of that game down to like 4 colors. So every time you see white, it's like things that can fade into the background. Every time you see black, it accentuates the white. Every time you see red, it's possible danger. Anytime you see yellow, it is parkourable surface. It's a visual guide to parkour on me. uh, you build the language of your game by repeating lessons that you slowly teach players.
Problem. So if I crank up the fire rate on this gun, you'll see what I mean. You can't really tell, but each one of those bullets is a slightly different pitch.
And that's important because you get sound fatigue. Each of these is ideas that come across that people have learned over time, and like you are relearning them. And this is the beauty of becoming any kind of creator, and why I advocate against AI art, even though I've used it. I use AI, and I am decoupling myself from it as much as I can in my creation. Not because I think it's inherently evil or I'm a Luddite or like I'm not with the times. I use it. I use ChatGPT for tons of stuff. I'm trying to use it less because it is worthwhile to build an understanding of the medium that you're in, and you will not build that if someone else does the work for you. Like, become immersed in the language, become immersed in the medium, become immersed in that field, learn how people get an idea across, so when ChatGPT does it for you, you can say, ChatGPT didn't really hit the note that I was going for. Like, it made an audio or a video clip, but it doesn't communicate what I'm going for. So when he says it pitch shifts the sound, that's important because they did a paper on this, and like you can just learn this intuitively. Hearing the same soundbite unvaried over and over and over is fatiguing for the ears. It just gets boring. Like, it gets draining, really. That's why in
So
League
right
of
now it
Legends,
has a randomized pitch.
that's why in League of Legends they have like 15 different sound clips, 15 different voice lines that almost never get repeated the same line one after another. Like they write code so you do not hear the same line back to back. Versus, I don't know if you guys have seen memes of StarCraft, but like, or like TF2, or dispenser here, dispenser here, dispenser here. Even with those bytes, when they say dispenser here, they vary dispenser here, because if they didn't, it would drive you fucking nuts.
If I change this to 1 and it's a static pitch, it sounds like this. Which will get annoying really quick.
Yeah.
So be sure to randomize your pitch. And then the last one is a rising pitch. So here we have a bunch of little pickups, and with a static pitch, it sounds like this. Which is fine, but if we give it a rising pitch instead, it's going to be so much better. So if we go into the event sheet, we play a sound, but the pitch is actually a variable of the player object. And so when you pick up one of these points, it plays the sound at that pitch, adds 0.05 to the pitch, and then restarts the timer. And then the timer is triggered if you haven't picked up a point within 1 second, which changes the variable back to 1 and deletes the timer. And that sounds like this, which is much better. Next are particles.
If you want to learn how to do that forever and make someone feel like they're losing their fucking mind, it's called a shepherd's tone. It's a rising tone that always feels like it's rising and never stops rising, and you can loop it and somebody will lose their mind.
And we have a video on this already, so I'm not going to explain how to do this, but I'll show you the difference. So with the particle effects, the dashing and the firing of bullets looks like this. And if we take them away, it looks like this. Which is just sad to look at. It's a good idea to add particle effects anywhere where something is coming in contact with something else, or something is being fired or clicked on or done, to give the player some feedback on what's happening. Now we get into getting players and retention. And the first one is the art. If you know how to make your own art, by all means, do it. But if you don't, then feel free to use art packs. But make sure you're using all of the art from the same one. You might get away with mixing 2 art packs together if they're similar enough, or one is for the UI and one is for the game itself, but mixing objects from different art style.
And he actually mentions you want to. Hello, is my PNG tuber not working? Did my PNG tuber decide to die on me? Microphone, are you picking up? Hello? This is why we love technical issues when we're streaming. We absolutely love them, yes. Alright. No, he mentions like it's okay to get away with two different things, like two different art packs from your UI and for your game, because if things look too samey, they bleed in together. They teach you that with like color theory and things, like with a website. But like you want your UI to pop, so it being different is fine, because like you can pull it from two different assets, because like you just don't want to make them jarring. Like you don't want to make that like it like they don't fit together at all. But like you want them to be distinct. Here's an example. My PNG tuber that I have that you are currently seeing bouncing around talking has a white outline. That's to make it pop against the rest of this black and white. I have a consistent black and white theme that it's fine for things to be monochrome, but like if I took the pixel art and without the outline, it doesn't really distinguish itself. It bleeds into the rest. Like the edge bleeds into everything else.
All together, it's going to look ugly. So, GDevelop can help you out with this too. If you go to add a new object, you can go to the asset store, which has these amazing art packs right here for you to put into your game. And the best part is, once you find something you want to put into your game, all you have to do is click on the object, and you're brought to this screen, where you can see the animations by clicking here, and then you can click here to add the object to your game. And when you do that, you get all of the animations already pre-done for you, with names and frame rates and all that stuff done. So yeah, be sure your art packs match and make sense together. And if you are going to create new art for your game to add with your art pack, use the colors and styles found in that art pack so everything still matches at the end of the day. A good looking game with art that makes sense together is going to present itself as something more high quality, and because of that, you're just going to get more players.
Yeah, that's essentially like the thing that you do. Like I will call it a visual calculus, a fancy word for saying when you're browsing a store and you're looking at the thumbnails and the videos for a game, and you're like, no, that's no good. Like something visually is telling you that they didn't know what they were doing when they were making a game, that they were new. That's why a lot of games get passed over. It's because they weren't familiar with like these tropes in every medium. Like and they communicate that to you through clumsy use of things. Like they didn't have a consistent visual language, or like the animations don't look smooth, or they look janky, or like they look like someone wasn't experienced with like a transition or something.
And now, leaderboards. Not everybody enjoys leaderboards, but for the people that do, having them in your game will double, triple, quadruple the amount of time they'll play your game. It's a really easy way to add a social aspect to an otherwise single-player game. There is no one-size-fits-all way to make a game good, but with the right amount of game feel, or juice, and the proper art, and a leaderboard, you can turn something as simple as a pachinko game into something that people will really enjoy playing. If I left anything out, be sure to comment down below so that people can see it and learn from it.
Yep.
I've been Helper Wesley, and I'm glad I could help.
Analytics and feedback. Understanding the data is power. GDevelop provides analytics data such as the number of sessions, time spent in a game, the bounce rate, the time players spend in game. Take advantage of these analytics, and actually, as you learn more about game development, like the tools and inexperienced people will just be getting the basic analytics, but as you learn more, like you can insert flags to if I'm right that this is a thing that's in GDevelop, I'm assuming, but like when you build your own game and build the engine, you are basically reproducing a lot of these ease of access that GDevelop is doing. When you learn to flag as a programmer, like you essentially adding like more info for like user review. Like It basically you can add more flags to say like how long did a player spend in this level, how long did they spend on this puzzle, and that as a whole from like 1,000 players will tell you like maybe I fucked up this level because everyone's taking like an hour on it and it's supposed to take 5 minutes. Because the data doesn't tell everything, GDevelop also made the feedback service. This allows any player to play GD games to provide feedback directly to you, the game's creator. Conclusion: remember, people are looking for something engaging, and waiting for a game to load or lost can be frustrating. By offering the best possible game experience to you, because if players don't understand the game, they'll give up in seconds. Now it's up to you to create the best game ever. All right. Create a playable game for everybody in an intuitive, comprehensive way. These 5 steps. So those were the 6 things to do. These are 5 things not to do, and then we'll get into the tutorial. When it comes to starting a new game, it's well known that some players dislike cumbersome tutorials, either because they think, and like, if you want to watch a video on this, like a video essay, there's a great video essay by EgoRaptor on his channel. He's also known as one of the guys for, I don't know, maybe like one of the biggest video game channels on YouTube. Hey, I'm Grump. I'm not so Grump, and we're the Game Grumps. Game Grumps has Aaron Hansen, EgoRaptor. He's been in the community for like years, like probably like 20 years, like animation wise, in Flash on Newgrounds. But he talks in one of the video essays he has on his personal channel, EgoRaptor. He talks about like Mega Man and the first level, and like at no point do they feel like they're holding your hand. They're letting you play the game, but they're slowly introducing concepts in a smooth way that it never feels obtrusive or like they're talking down to you as a player, or like they're making you feel dumb, or like, yeah, I've done a tutorial before, I don't need to do this. A lot of people skip tutorials because they feel like they don't need to be taught how to play your game, and then they miss something out. If you can make the tutorial not feel like one, that's the gold standard. To address this, creating a starting area, a step-by-step introduction will help you seamlessly integrate the game controls into the game world and narrative. Avoid overwhelming players with a long list of keys and controls. Instead, introduce the elements gradually. Yeah, like if you one by one introduce controller elements, it just really helps people along. Use the game environment to teach controller interactions, like opening doors, throwing objects, and gradually progressing into more complex sections. This way, the player learns while actively playing the game. Indicate game controls. Keep controls intuitive. Let the user know the game's control scheme. That can be obvious at first glance, but clearly early game makers focus on building gameplay and forget the games aren't all equal in front of a game. Especially when you're coming with a novel idea, you need to communicate it. Like if no one's engaged with your idea before, you need to walk them through it, and like once they personally have experienced your idea, like it'll become integrated into their experience. But like they need to be slow walked into it most of the time. That can be obvious at first glance. Yeah. Think about players launching a game for the first time. If they don't know your controls, they will close the game within seconds, resulting in a very low game retention rate. You can see that in GDevelop using analytics. A simple game solution is to display the keys that can be used in the game screen. Like B for back, game guide, random, confirm. Okay. X for info, Y skill tree, A add, B back, L or R to change the character. Choosing a diegetic or extra diegetic interface. Now this is where I get most engaged, because like I am an absolute nerd for diegetic. For anyone who doesn't know this comes from like long-standing community of like filmmakers and like story guys. Diegetic in a movie, television, any kind of medium, is when the element in that medium, so let's say there's a song playing, is coming from within the context of the actual setting, the fictional world itself. So like if you hear a song, it's coming from the radio, and the actual character in the show is hearing that song too. It's not just for you to hear as a viewer, it's like actually being played in that world. I love this because when I want merch from a game, when I want something that's merchandise, which is what I will be doing if we do this well enough for long enough, I want to buy merchandise that makes me feel connected to the world. I don't want to buy merchandise that says the logo Fallout. I want the Pip-Boy. Diegetic interfaces. Interfaces can be incorporated into the game's storytelling or not. When the HUD is part of the main character's perspective, the interface is called head diegetic. So like in Halo, the HUD display that Master Chief has on his helmet, the HUD display that you have on the screen is diegetic because according to the story of the game, he's wearing a helmet that shows him what you're seeing. All interfaces in Star Citizen are diegetic from the point of view of the main character, and the menus are on real tablets in the visor of the helmet and holographic. These interfaces are usable with the mouse cursor, that's why there's no input indicators. On the other hand, extra diegetic interface is a way to display game information directly to the player without integrating them into the game environment. This does need to be used sometimes. You can't make everything diegetic. Sometimes you want something to stand out for reasons of like too much diegetic info will get lost, and like you can definitely lose people in the sauce of like, man, everything in this world feels immersive, but at some point you never really communicate things like those hyper realistic games where everything is in game. Like you need a player who like is very familiar with like that world, or like very familiar with that fantasy, like Stalker for example. And like there's going to be things that you lose in terms of granularity and quality of life when you try and simulate to that degree. Like a lot of people love FPSs when they have like an ammo counter. If you really go the full diegetic route, the best you can do is pull the clip out and look at it. But in real life, there is no way to know how many bullets are left in that clip. Just that there are bullets left. Like there are losses to being fully diegetic. 50% visual and 50% audio. The audio is essentially an element of enhances players' immersion. Realistic or whimsical sound effects, music adapted to atmosphere, well-designed dialogues, yada yada. Sorry, not yada yada. These are worthwhile things if you don't know them before. Well-crafted voice acting, dialogue, and sound design contribute to the player character development and plot progression, fostering a deeper connection between players and the game story. Moreover, audio plays a crucial role in the player interaction feedback loop. And if you ever heard someone who has ADHD, they'll tell you, I need immediate feedback to know if I'm doing good. Games are great for a lot of people in the ADHD community, and they get frustrated that life isn't like a game, because in a game, if you click the wrong button, or if you're on a computer and you click the wrong button, like on Windows, you hear, and it tells you immediately, okay, I shouldn't have done that. And you hear ba-ding when you succeed. It's immediate, like, okay, I did the right thing. Like, and they're getting walked through. It actually helps. It does telegraph it a little bit that you're in a tutorial, but you can walk someone through a simple tutorial, and like there can be no text on the screen, but if they do the thing that you want in the unguided tutorial, the first level of a game, you can give them an error sound when they fail and a success sound when they succeed, and you will slowly like reinforce to them that way. Like if like say they need to jump and you don't prompt on the screen like A button, and you don't put text that says press A button. You just wait for them to like touch the controller a bit and like press each button on their keyboard. And you play a sound when they press the jump button on the section of the tutorial level where they need to jump, and there's nothing else they can do if they don't jump. You will inform them that they succeeded when they pressed spacebar. Adding sounds to buttons to the player's environment gives the confirmation to the player that action has been processed. That explains why buttons, menus, and UI have status feedback on hover and or clicks. This makes a difference compared to games without sound. Sound is sometimes underestimated but has the power to significantly improve the overall experience. Capture early feedback and iterate quickly. Creating a game is an accomplishment to be proud of. Share your work with friends, family, and online communities. While you may not have access to professional testers like in a big game studio because they have the general of their own testers QA department, you should do early and continuous testing and quick iterations in development. Pay attention to any player's feedback as it provides a valuable insight, especially if you're too lost in the sauce. It helps to have some valuable insight of someone who like doesn't have the assumptions that you have. Like they don't even know what to assume. So like when they come to your game and they're like, so what do I do? Like that actually tells you haven't even informed them well. To like if they pick up the controller at the very beginning of the game at the tutorial level and they're like, what do I do? You didn't guide them visually or anything. If the game is too easy, it will bore players, and if it's too difficult from the beginning, players will abandon it because they're frustrated. Every feedback is valuable. Get someone and every feedback are available. Get them by enabling them from the game dashboard. In conclusion, by implementing these tips and avoiding common mistakes, you can significantly enhance the quality of your game. Okay, Cool. We will read this later. I will put this in the bar, but I actually want to get to the tutorial and like, let's get started. Less talking, more doing.
Or GDevelop. We'll get to know where different parts of the engine are and what they do. You'll start off on the Get Started page. From there, we're going to go to the Create tab, where once you've made a game, you can manage it from this tab. But from here, you can also create a new game. You can either start from an example, a new empty project, or one of these starter projects. We're going to start with the platformer. You can set your project's name and decide where you're going to save the project, either in GDevelop's cloud or on your own computer.
I've been having PC issues. It's going in the cloud today.
So now we're in the game scene editor. You can move, scale, and rotate the different game objects in your scene, as well as copy, paste, undo, redo, and delete instances in the game scene. You can move the whole scene around, as well as zoom in and out with the mouse or touchscreen controls. But the first thing we're going to talk about are the different panels in the game scene editor. Starting with the object panel, which is where you manage and create new objects for your game. An object is basically anything in your game, whether it's your character, the ground, text, or particles. Everything is an object.
Thanks for stopping in, Hoodie. I really appreciate the engagement. I hope you have a good night, and I'll keep on going, but like, you keep on trucking, bro.
Next is the other panel that's already open, the Properties panel. When you click on an object, or an instance of an object in the game scene, you'll be given a list of properties that you can change that are related to the thing that's selected. You can more precisely control the position, scale, and rotation of an object, but you can also change other things about the object, like its opacity, starting animation, and Z-order. Z-order determines which object shows up in front or behind of another one in a 2D game, and in a 3D game, it's used to position the object in the scene. Then there's the Object Group panel, where you can make object groups to help manage multiple objects at once. So as a quick example, if you have 3 different enemy objects and put them inside of a group called Enemies, instead of checking if each one was hit by a bullet, you can just check if something from the enemies group was hit by a bullet, making your game logic a lot simpler. Then there's the Layers panel, which is where you can manage or make new layers for your game. So in this project, the background and mobile controls are both on different layers, and so you can see that they're not moving with the camera on the base layer. They're staying in the same place. And you can
And these things in practice matter. Like at first you don't understand why they inform you on all this, but like if you don't learn to organize from the outset, you'll be organizing from the end, and like that's a lot harder to like begin to like, okay, well, where are all these elements? Oh, I put them all on the same layer. Oh shit, like yeah. It's good practice to like from the beginning keep an organized file structure and things like that. Keep an organized layer list, separate things by like what layer they're on, and like generally you get a vibe for and feel for like how to build layers and how to separate things, like what is a meaningful way to separate things, like they give you by default a useful template, which is separate your UI. So like the interaction, like the joysticks that they put on screen, because this is a mobile, like you can port this to like webcam, right? And they give you a UI layer, so like anybody who boots your game up in a browser on their phone can play it just using like the touch screens. And then they separate that from the game because of course you don't want the UI on the same layer as the game, because like if the game screen moves, like then the UI would move, and you don't want the guy's joystick to be jumping around.
change which layer an object is on in the Properties panel. And then lastly, there's the Instance List panel, which is a list of the different instances of objects in your game scene. It's mostly used to select and find objects that have been locked, misplaced, or positioned behind another object. There's also another option in the top right corner that isn't a panel, and that's the option to turn on a grid to help you better align objects in your game. The next important component in the engine is the event sheet. This is where you can build your game's logic and help set up the rules for your game. If you click on the icon in the top left corner, you'll open the Project Manager, which is where you see the things that apply to your entire project, and not just the one scene you're working on. So first let's go to the scene list, where you can organize and add new scenes to your game. If you add a new scene and give it a name, you can then click into the scene and open that scene's game editor and event sheet. You can see that this game scene and event sheet are completely blank and separate from the first scene in the game. So each scene has its own game scene editor and event sheet.
So to explain the game scenes, like imagine you want to separate level from level. Like you don't want to collect everything because like sometimes you just want to say in Mario, after you jump to the tube and like something plays, you want to you want almost a jump cut, a flash cut, where like the visuals just change all at once, and you are on the next level. Sometimes you can do a transition, but this lets you separate things like each scene like to different segments, so you can load them in part by part, so it doesn't take a huge time to load the first level. And it also lets you separate like say like the start menu. Like the start menu will be a scene, and a good rule of practice is like each menu is its own scene. It's like the start menu will lead into the graphics menu, which will all be one screen or one scene, and then the audio settings or the controls.
Now back to the project manager. From here you can access your game settings properties, which is where you can fill in the information for your game, as well as change the game's resolution, scaling, and rendering method. From this window you can also change your game's branding and loading screen, as well as add icons to your game that will get used when you publish the game somewhere. Then there's the game dashboard, where you can manage your game and leaderboards, and see your game analytics, which show you the people that are playing your game and how long they're playing it for. Then there's global variables, which get explained in another video, and the resource tab, which is where you manage the resources in your game. Each type of asset will have its own settings that can be changed, but for images added to the project, you can turn on or off the smoothing, which is useful because if your game is using pixel art, you'll want the smoothing turned off, but if your game has a higher resolution, you'll want it turned on. Then there are extensions, which will get explained in another video, external events, which are basically event sheets that aren't limited to a single scene. They can be added to event sheets multiple times, and in multiple scenes. And then lastly, there's external layouts, which are basically game scenes that aren't limited to a single scene. So you can build out entire levels or chunks of levels, and add what's in that external layout into the game scene at a specific location.
That's useful for like let's say a roguelike. You want or like a dungeon like you just displayed there, like a Zelda style dungeon. You build the layout of like the map that they're gonna run into, and then like so what we would call that in game dev, I've lost the word for it, a tile set. You could like it's a tile set is like the original language for it, but you can also build like uh, um, a tile set for like 3D environments where you have like Bethesda does this with their dungeons. Like dungeons are broken into like corner pieces, hallway pieces, a cave bend, a cave large room, a cave small room, and then you connect those at different points, and like you can use those pre-built. There is a term, Brett, but I am what is the term for tile sets of 3D elements in map design? Our map layout. It is tile sets, 3D tiles. That is not the term I'm looking for. I know there is a term, but it's at the tip of my tongue. I'll figure it out later.
GDevelop, of course, has a huge range of other features and tools that weren't covered in this video, but hopefully this was enough to make you feel more confident in navigating the engine. And if you'd like to learn more about GDevelop, then click on this.
So this first video is useful to just like every piece of software when you first learn it will give you the feeling of like, hey, this is the heads up display, and like you will learn tips and tricks. One of my favorite creators, he died far too young. His name was Monty Ohm. He used a software, Monty's favorite software that he created Ruby in. uh, he used Poser, and he was so familiar with Poser. Like you will get familiar with a software that you become familiar with over time. Like you'll gravitate to something. Maybe you'll learn in GDevelop and you never move out of it. Maybe you'll learn like your company's software. Like if you get in a game development job, you'll learn their specific software. Maybe it's independent or maybe it's industry standard like Unreal or Unity or something. Um, but at first, every first tutorial video, and the reason tutorial videos are really important, and the reason I'll be publishing this series um, using these videos is essentially like I want to teach someone and share what I have and learn together. I want to be learning while doing and doing while learning, and doing that with someone else is um, I want to pass along what I have to help anyone that I can and encourage you and basically show you that like these tutorials can be frustrating and can be annoying to do by yourself, but there is a reason that they have such a similar format each time you learn a new piece of software because it's more important that you learn the adaptability. Like if you put on your resume, I know C sharp, that's cool and all, but like the language is something you'll pick up at the outset of a job when you learn a new job. Like maybe they have a different language, maybe they have an industry unique language. They built their language from the ground up. But do you know principal practices? Do you know theories? Do you know algorithms? Do you know data structure if you're a programmer? Do you know color theory if you're an artist? Do you know game design, like general principles, like the things I've been laying out in this video? Um, and you can learn the specifics. You can deep dive. So like the first thing when they teach you GDevelop, when they teach you GDevelop, um, they're trying to get you familiar with the layout of the actual. Here, let me open the template for you. They're trying to get you familiar with this integrated environment and development. And what that means, it's shortened in the industry code to an IDE. Every new piece of software, because you're always going to want to have the ability to adapt and learn. Like you don't want to just be stuck in the software that you're familiar with, because your company, if you work for a company, like it's fine if you work independent, you can be familiar with where you want, but like you also want to be able to always refresh your abilities even if you're independent. You want to stay relevant, don't you? Or like even if you don't want to be relevant, you want to be able to learn in life. Like so like adaptability is the ability to always constantly learn things. And the reason these videos have formats is they're trying to teach you uh, the fundamentals of like things that like in the format that's easily received by people. So like first, when you get into software, you want to learn the layout of the software. You want to learn, okay, well here's in programming we call it object-oriented programming. So like that's how they built this game. And like the first menu, like you click these, it pulls up the sidebar for objects, and these are the things that are these are the elements that are going to be in the screen. These sub little pieces like the ghost on the screen, your health bar, like each individual part that makes up the full scene. And the language will change from different software. They'll call it scenes or collections or whatever, but the idea is the same. Inside a grouping are these different units that build up an individual like experience on a particular collection of these units. And then you switch to different collections to quickly load a level, to quickly open a menu or something. And they're trying to get you familiar with the environment. So the closed properties, the properties are, this happens in Unity. Unity 3D has a properties tab whenever you interact with a 3D object. Those are all the variables you define in the scripts, um, and all the basic like pre-built, predefined variables of like the object that you have created. It is the same kind of language. They usually use similar language. You'll notice the differences if you learn enough of them. Open instances. This is a different way to navigate the objects. Especially it's useful like if there are more like an instance in programming language is something instantiated or like you have the blueprint, which is the object, and you are creating one of the blueprints. So say you have an enemy, and you want to make 4 of those enemies. Each one of the enemy on screen is an instance. The blueprint is the object. Okay.
Let's go over the
let's go ahead and go back to home. We manipulate an object with the properties panel. So we have a casual soul harvesting game where you collect things. Using only the properties panels, adjust the large open all tasks. Adjust the large ghost object in the game scene to match the size, angle, and position of the transparent locked ghost below it. So let's go ahead and do that. Here's the locked ghost. So it shows me the locked ghost. Here's the ghost. So using only the properties panel, they want you to match these two. They want you to change them and transform them, shape them. It's usually called a transform. That's when you're moving, and then a rotation, and then a scale. So like, they want you to use this property thing, not just clicking and dragging. They want you to use this property so you learn how to adjust things in the scene with just like numbers and stuff. So like, let's go ahead. Let's get into it. Um, properties. We want to change the rotation of it. This is a ghost, so we want to change the ghost instance, not the object. So we want to go to ghost, and then we want to change its X position to be so left right. We want actually let's go ahead and scale it down because I want it smaller. So width and height. So I want to get rid of the rotation first. I want to lower it. So we're going to go to Y. So we're increasing it because it counts from the top of the screen. It counts from up here. Here, let me minimize. It counts from the top of the screen is 0. Let me actually fix this and actually show you my capture my mouse. Capture cursor. Okay, so are you seeing my cursor? Um, so the top of the screen is where where it counts 0, and so you're just increasing it to lower him. We're going to zoom in using the scroll, so you kind of mouse over to the I hit Control Z and I undid. I'm going to hit Control Y and redo. Um, so they're common across a lot of Windows apps. So we have the Properties tab where I'm going to highlight the ghost, and then I've got it about the same thing. I want to shrinky dink it. So I'm going to change the width to 50. So that's a little bit too small. About 70. Nope. 80? That's about right. 80. And then we're going to adjust its properties. Keep increasing it until it's about the same Y level, and then slide it over to the left because we're supposed to match it up. We're learning to transform objects. So we want it to be a little bit wider, so let's 85. Okay, that matches. And 57 is about right. I just want to get rid of this. Yeah, 57 matches it almost perfectly. And there we go. That's how we transform something using just the properties tab. I could have dragged it, but they want you this tutorial. The important they're trying to teach you something in each tutorial thing. If you get the idea already, fine. But like try it yourself so you can really get familiar with the tools available to you. So like then we're gonna go home. Adjust. So we're done. Unlock an object with the instance list panel. The background object in the scene is actually currently locked, so and cannot be selected. Using the instance list panel, unlock the background object and adjust the size to fill the entire rectangular game window indicated by the black line. So we're going to go to the background. We select it in the instance panel that we create. We're going to go to where it's locked and unlock it. what did it say that they want us to do? You can, using its unlock the background, adjust its size to fill the entire default rectangular game window indicated by the black line. Adjust its size. So we want it to be, I am going to adjust my uh, windows and stuff. So I want there to be a little bit more space on either side, so my view screen is a little bit bigger. So I have more of my. This is usually called the view frame or the view window, like that actually shows you what the game will look like in most IDEs. So I want this background right here to stretch to fill this whole larger uh, display. This like so we're gonna use this and we're gonna increase the width 700. But the width is 700. We're gonna slide it to the left, so it's 0, and we're gonna increase it to probably 1400. No, 1300. That's close. 1250. 1300. 1290. I want to get it just right. 1280. 1275. 1280. 1280 is right. Okay, so I'm actually learning something as I do this. This is probably the default for the browser. They presume that most people on the internet have at least a 1280 by 720. That's a common resolution. So they want you to adjust this so it perfectly fits. And so I recognize 1280. 1280 is what we call a magic number. A magic number is just a number that you recognize, a special number that's used in a lot of things. Once you use computers a lot, you notice some native resolution, 16 by 9 and 16 by 4 by 3. So like I think it's a 16 by 9 resolution that 1280 by 720 is, and that's like that's not HD. HD is 1080. This is 720p. So we're gonna change this. We're gonna lock them in 1280. There we go. And then we're gonna lock it back. Add a UI layer with layers panel. Preview the example and move the ghost object by pressing the left and mouse button or touching your touchscreen. Move the character down. Take note of the resource bar object that displays your current life force and see how it moves along with the camera. So preview the example, move the ghost of object by pressing left and right, see how it moves the camera. Create a new layer in the layers panel. Move the resource bar object to that new layer with the drop down menu for layer in the properties panel. So, okay, I'll explain what all that means. So first they want us to preview. So this is the preview ability. This is basically you playing the game like in the IDE. And I'm gonna have to allow. They want you to use left and right. Locked preview in a new window. So this game, you can drag with a mouse. They said left, right. So this game is a you click, you move your mouse and click, and it goes to where you clicked, and if it gets hit by a thing, it dies. So that lets us see it. So they don't have a live in IDE preview. You have to have the premium version. You can just launch a preview and it'll open up a window that lets you preview it. So basically, that they're teaching us how to preview the game, test the game out. Preview the game, move the ghost object by pressing the left and mouse button and touching your screen. Move the character down, take note of the resource bar object that displays your current life force and see how it moves along with the camera. And so I want to add another source so you can see when I'm uh, you're hearing the sounds for it, but you're not seeing the game because I do not have the source in OBS. So let me go ahead and do GDevelop preview window. Add the source, window type, GDevelop preview, and done. All right. And we're going to have that show up anytime we're testing the game. Anytime we're testing the game, it's going to show up right there. And I'm going to go ahead and lock this. My cat just broke into my room. I cannot believe you pushed open the door, Gravy. You need to bad key, Gravy. You shouldn't just be pushing open doors. You're not bad, kitty. I love you, kitty cat. All right. Let's see here. Preview, and we're going to lock it so it stays in that position on the stream software. Um, so that let us basically test it out. So that's what they wanted us to do. They wanted us to try and test out the game and learn how to use the preview thing. We're going to create a new layer in the layers panel and move the resource bar to that new layer with the drop down menu for the layer in the properties panel. So we're going to I wish you could highlight this and cap and like screen cap. Actually, I'm gonna screen cap this so I can just read the instructions on a different screen, so I can follow along on that different screen while I have the IDE open. All right. So what they want us to do is they want us to create a new layer. So we're going to go to Layers panel. It's going to bring something open for us. Layers underneath instances. We can actually make it not take up so much space. We can just switch to layers. We can close our instances for layers and move the resource bar to the object to that new layer. So we want to open up instances again just for a second. We want to scroll down to the resources bar. So we want to create a layer, add a layer. We're going to rename this layer edit properties, camera positioning, 3D settings. I want to change the layer properties, the name. I'm just trying to change its name. So it's the base layer, and we're adding a new layer, the layer we just created. So we're gonna rename it resources. There we go. And then we're going to create a new layer in the layers panel, and then move the resource bar to that new layer with the drop down menu for the layer in the properties panel. So what we're going to do is we're going to select resource bar. That's going to we're going to open up the properties panel, and we're going to go to the resource bar. You can double click it and that will do a pop-out window, or you can just simply select in these sections. So we're going to select the resource bar. We're going to switch which layer it's on to resources, and that way you've separated your items to organize it. So then preview that game and see that the resource bar stays in the bottom center of the screen. Is unaffected by camera movement. So we're going to go and show you a preview real quick. And so that way the resource bar now hovers over and you can see, uh, and that explains the game a little better. I wasn't dying because I didn't have feedback, I didn't know what was happening. So I wasn't dying because the ball hit me. I was dying because they actually didn't hit me. I need it to collect air. All right, nice. All right, that is our third task done. And see, we're actually kind of moving along pretty quickly. All right, take note layers higher than in the layers panel will appear above layers in the lower layers. All right, change smooth like so. Let's go back. Change smoothing in this resources tab. Open the ghost object and press the preview button for the idle animation. So we're going to scroll down. We're going to remove the layers panel because we don't need that information right now. We don't want the ghost, we don't want the instance of the ghost, we want the object of the ghost. Edit animations. Located above the animation on the right side of this window. Open the ghost object and press the preview button for the idle animation. Here's the preview button, and it'll show us how he kind of breathes. Located in the animation on the right side of this window. When watching the animation play, notice that the second frame of the animation is blurry. Open the Resources tab. Resources tab. Let me see here what that is. So I'm learning it alongside you guys. Open the Resources tab. Edit with Piscal. Okay, so this is their software. This is not what they wanted to show me, but this is their pixel art software. That's the NID software. That's cool. Open the Resources tab located in the Project Manager. So we will go here. This is the Project Manager. The top left like shows you all the overview of the project. We're going to go to Resources. We're going to Assets. Look in the project manager. Turn off smoothing for this frame in the Resources tab. So you want the idle second frame. You want smoothing off so the image stays nice and crisp. To make this the default setting for any new images in your game, so basically so you don't have to keep doing this, is teaching you how to set defaults up in the software. To make this default setting for any new images in the game, open your game properties under game settings. So like, let's go here. Properties. Open your game properties in the project manager, change the scale mode. So let's go to no, resolution. No, so this is the game resolution. So this is going to be the native resolution for your game. We learned this before, that the native resolution is 1280 by 720. We can change that. I prefer 1080. A lot of people, modern computers can support that. If you're trying to build for anybody to play it across any computer, the oldest, I think, standard, even like old MS-DOS computers could support a 640 by 480, and that'll be like usable. It's just you won't be able to convey a ton on the screen. It'll be kind of restricting. You'll have to go back and learn retro games and how they worked within that screen size limit. But we are going to look for scale mode, and we're going to look to linear anti-alias rendering with smoothing is good for high resolution. We want to change it from linear to nearest, no anti-aliasing. So like it defaults, basically this is a setting that like for your general project, you're assuming like the scale mode is like the sampling of every new asset that you add. And then we're saying like we want it to be nearest to exactly how the resource is when I give it to you. So like no anti-aliasing, don't smooth the object, don't do any fancy post-processing. Just like take the image that I give you exactly as it is. This is the setting I want as default. We're going to apply it. We're gonna exit, and that is good. And that is our first session. So next we're gonna go to build a scene with objects.
Let's go over the different kinds of objects used in GDevelop. An object is basically anything in your game. If you can see it, it's an object. So an object can be a scene object. Object or a global object, and they both work the same.
We're gonna get some better quality. Oh, it is 1080. It's like a
same way. The only difference is that a scene object is limited to one scene, and a global object applies to your entire game. So if I change my player to be a global object, I can see it in these two different scenes. To add a new object to your game, you click on the Add a New Object button at the bottom of the object panel. The engine comes with a bunch of free and paid pre-made objects in the asset store that you can open up and add straight to your game, or you can make objects from scratch. And as you can see, there's a bunch of different kinds of objects you can pick from. Starting with the sprite object. And right now we're using one for the player. So you can see the sprite object has a name and different animations that can also have their own names. Each animation comes with its own timer and can be set to loop or not, depending on what you want to do with the animation. The sprite object also comes with a collision mask, which you can set to best fit the object. If you create a new sprite and add a new animation, the engine will set up the collision mask to try and fit that first image that you put into your game. The sprite object has properties, behaviors, variables, and effects. So behaviors are prepackaged game logic that make it easy to do things that would be complicated to build on your own. Like the platformer behavior, that lets the character be controlled like a platformer character with the arrow keys and spacebar. To find or add new behaviors to the object, we can click the Add a Behavior.
I actually want to pause this real quick. I have no reason. There's nothing wrong with the video we're learning. I have just a thing, like sometimes my ADHD brain. We're going to go chase down a rabbit hole, and we're going to. I was curious. Does GDevelop support controllers? And it appears like that's a question someone asked before. Yes, generic controllers are supported. So this is their wiki. This is the documentation. Like you will learn any big enough software, any big enough dev like community builds a wiki, which is a simplified, much less multimedia experience than like a tutorial, but it's a quick shorthand like tool, like a Wikipedia page. Like it's a good tool for developers. Like a lot of programmers will be familiar with the wiki for the API for that you'll be using, the application programming interface. Gamepad controllers can be used in your Xbox, PlayStation, and generic controllers. This feature can be activated by adding gamepad extension to your project. You will then be able to use conditions and expressions to check if a gamepad is connected, if a button is pressed, released, or if a stick is pushed. So it does support, which means we will be using that in our project.
Behavior button, and we'll see dozens of behaviors that we can add to the object. And variables will be covered in a later video, but this is where we store information like the player's health. And finally,
if you were doing this in programming, there'd be a lot of little things, but basically most IDEs allow you to attach a script. This is like skipping the whole scripting. This is like programming light IDE, which is good for a new person so they don't have to focus on all the programming. But like you still have to think logically and still have to like think in an most IDEs have an object-oriented mode of thinking, which means objects store properties and variables. So like let's say an object like a blueprint that you have is like a hero. You want your hero in your RPG to have health and mana and skills, and those are stored in variables.
Effects are things like blur, brightness, drop shadows, glitching, a number of different things that you could do to the object. Next is the tiled sprite object, which again is already in game as the ground object. Tiled sprites are different than sprite objects because with a sprite object, when you expand it, it grows in size. Whereas with a tiled sprite, it repeats as it expands instead of growing in size, which makes it really good for terrain or backgrounds, as well as for UI elements. The next object is the panel sprite object. And let's grab one from the asset store. The panel sprite object is broken into 9 chunks, and the top, bottom, and sides, as well as the center, expand and the corners stay the same, which makes them really useful for dialog boxes, as well as UI elements. Next is a 3D box. The 3D box is exactly what it sounds like. It's a 3D box with multiple different faces on it. And if I add an image for this,
He's just using something because you have to build the 3D object model yourself. Like this.
I can place it
software
into
can't-
the scene, and you'll see the 3D box.
Yeah.
Then there's the 3D model object, which requires a GLB file to work in Engine. And if I grab one from the asset store, put it into the game, there it is. You can adjust its depth and position and rotation with the properties panel.
And
The next object,
the most flashy projects use you can use really clever people. I host on my website or my YouTube. I'm going to be hosting this series on my YouTube. I'll be posting it right after I finish tonight. We're going to get finished with this section and then we'll call it quits. But basically, after we finish this video and do the tutorial, that'll be the end of this this first YouTube session. I know like long form projects you need to be broken into smaller like things, bite-sized for you for viewers. But essentially, the best projects like you can see on my channel. There's a playlist of like Godot developers develop a game in 44 hours, like 4 developers in 44 hours, and the idea is that like you want to do a game. They're doing an impromptu game jam. Like I'm doing a official game jam, but they're doing an impromptu one. And like the things that sticks out a lot is like use of 2.5D, where you use 2.2D or two-dimensional elements in a 3D space. And like you learn that as like you learn different art languages. You can use a 2D art pack, for example, um, from the asset library, open game art, and then browse 2D art, and then like pixel. Uh, so let's do this like platform. You could use this tile set and create like a 3D like tiling wall. Like so you could create like a 3D hallway using, let's say, this brown tile or these like kind of snow tiles or these. You could create a 3D hallway by using different ones for the walls, different ones for the ceiling, um, and then create a space and then use like kind of logic from like Doom where the 2D objects are always facing you like little cards. They're all always spinning to show you their front. So they move backwards and forward and left and right, but they're always showing you their front. So like it appears like an object. Let me show you the behavior of, if anybody has never watched Doom, the original Doom, not like the recent Doom. So the logic is that like you see this barrel, it's fixed in a 3D space because it's representing it, but like anytime he moves or turns, or the enemy, it if you notice the little card for the armor turned as he moved around it in a 3D like in a 3D way, as he's like strafed around it. So you can make like 3D elements is a really good way to like make your game stand out. I don't know. I'm not that familiar with like using 2D sprites in a 3D space. I'll watch them more as we do this series and as I prep for I want to do some of these episodes as like a series for training you guys, training myself and you guys. Like I don't know why I'm acting like I'm training myself really, but like um, I'm learning myself and hoping someone else will learn too. But I definitely think it will make your game stand out. So maybe I'll try it to make my game stand out. Let's see here. Going back to the video.
Is the multi-touch joystick, which is mostly used for mobile touchscreen games. When you create the object, it'll give you some options to pick from by default, or you can make your own from scratch. If I grab one of the default options, I can place it here on screen, and you'll see the object comes with the thumb and the border, as well as some actions, conditions, and behaviors related to the joystick. Then there's 3 different kinds of text objects. The basic text object just comes with size, color, bold, italic, orientation, and font, for which GDevelop has a number of them built in. And I can type in what I want the text to say here. The next kind of font is a BB text. This one allows for more customization in the text field. When I place it into the scene, you can see that within the single text object, there are different effects applied to the font. And then lastly is the bitmap text, which renders text a little differently, more like an image than traditional text. This kind of font needs a bitmap font type and an atlas image. And we'll talk about this kind of font more in a later video, but this kind of font is especially useful for pixel art games. Because it is rendered more like an image, you can get more crisp edges than with the traditional font. The next set of objects are user interface objects, starting with the panel sprite button, which again, like the joystick, comes with a bunch of pre-built buttons to pick from, or you can create one from scratch. Buttons automatically react to the mouse cursor or a touch on a touchscreen, and come with their own conditions to check for when those things happen. The slider object works just as you assume a slider object would work. If we grab a pre-built one here, and preview the game, we can slide the object back and forth, and you'll see we're changing the value inside the object. And this object is really useful for a settings menu. Then there's the toggle switch, which toggles things on and off when it's clicked on. The resource bar, that can be used to display health, or any kind of resource that's on a bar. The text input object, which is a text box you can put into your game to have players fill in text. Video. If you upload a video, preferably MP4 for compatibility reasons, you can play that video in the game. Then there's lighting. And if I put the lighting object into the game, and give the player character the light obstacle behavior, you'll see that the character's collision mask that we set earlier is casting a shadow. Then there's the particle emitter that has its own video that you can use to create explosions or effects in your game. As well as the 3D particle emitter that does the same thing but in 3D. And then there's the tilemap objects, both tilemap and tilemap collision mask, for which you can use a third-party app like Tiled Editor or LDTK Editor to create a tile map, and then you can import it into the engine with this object. And then the last object is the Shape Painter tool, which can be used for so many different things that it would be hard to list them all. But it can be used as a selection tool, as an AoE marker, as a line between units, as a transition scene. It has a lot of different uses, and it shows up in a lot of our tutorial videos. That's a brief overview of all of the different objects in GDevelop. We cover some of the more important ones in separate videos, but for now, check out this one.
Alright, so we're going to finish the second set of tutorial behaviors, and then we're going to, so we're going to take a screenshot of this real quick, snip with the snipping tool, all the tasks that we have to do, and then we'll finish 2 and we'll start 3 tomorrow. I'll be streaming tomorrow around 8 to 10 a.m. So let me go ahead and see here. Okay, so the first task is create Yeah, we will close the previous project. That'll close all the scene, everything we had from the Ghost game. Now we're opening the second one. It's a visual novel. Oh, I love visual novels. I love dating games. Discover the different types of objects. Complete the 6 tasks below by dragging the pre-made objects from the object list in into the scene's default view window to match the image of the screen shown below. Open all tasks. All right. So basically, they want us to use a pre-built uh, set of assets, set of objects, like a pre-built IDE environment, and learn how to arrange assets for an like visual result. So we're going to open the template. So this is our view window. This is the border of the. This is as far as anyone can see on the screen. If anything's more than this, like it's going to be cut off by the screen. Uh, so we want to drag the pre-made objects from the object list into the scene's default view window to match the image of the scene below. So we're going to take the tiled sprite. We're going to set it to 0 on the left and 0. We're going to set it to width 1280 and then unhook this and then set it to 720. That's the background. And we're gonna rename our resources because we're kind of trying to copy things. Edit object. I want to name this functionally the office background. I'm gonna show you guys best practices. Office background, and then we're going to load in uh, the we're gonna call her Jessica. Uh, we want her to appear on screen for our dating game. We're going to have her load on the screen. We're gonna have her on the left, as like most Otome games have. Um, with the text appearing. So you see this in the view window, how this is sticking past this black border. That's going to get cut off. You're not going to see that in the rendered window. Like it's like if this isn't on screen, that little edge of her hair, this little clip right here, and the tip of her hair is going to get cut off for the view window. But we want her over to the side because we want a panel sprite, and we're going to dialog box panel sprite. So we're going to rename that dialog box panel sprite. And we're going to use the quick tools to edit and things. We're not going to use the property. We're going to use what's available to us. I am going to lock the background so it doesn't get moved. I'm going to lock Jessica so she doesn't move around. And then I'm going to try and move this around. It's already got some transparency and stuff. You're gonna use the text, drop that on top. We're going to line up, give it a little bit of padding. So we're gonna use this and give it a good reasonable padding on all sides. And then we're gonna give it some text. This instance of the text, we're not changing the object, we're changing the instance, and we're going to bring up the properties. We want to edit this text, and we're going to have her say, like they have in the in the tutorial image, we're going to have her say, you already missed a class. So this is going to be the first thing she's saying to you. Oop. So we're going to have her say, no, open the properties window, edit the object. Did you already miss a class? Here's the text, it's not appearing. Let's see why the text isn't appearing. Save project. We want to save this in the cloud. Premium course lesson 2. Copy. All right. So we're trying to lay this out exactly as it is in the demo image, and uh, there are 4 hearts in the demo image. So resource bar, we want to name this life meter. Resource bar. So the last half will tell us what kind of element it is, what kind of object it is. The first half will tell us what we're using it for. So we're going to open the properties tab, uh, edit the object, bar left margin, bar right margin. Initial value, maximum value. So we're going to say maximum value is 5 because that's what's shown here, and the initial value is 4. And we're going to drag this out so it displays all that. See, it will keep displaying. Save. So we want 2 properties, life meter, resource bar. Edit object, we're going to have the initial value be 4 and it be 5. Fill bar, bar. Okay, yeah, and then the background, flat heart. Okay, so this is what the bar will look like when it's not filled. So it's basically saying each time you empty a heart out, when it's filled, it will be one of these pink hearts. When it's not filled, it will be one of these gray hearts. So we want to set the maximum value to 5. Let's say if it was 3. 5. Show the background. I'm using middle mouse click to drag all the elements, to drag the window itself. I'm using the scroll bar to scroll in to get a good view of this. I'm clicking down here in life meter resources, and we want it to edit the object. This is not updating the instance we have, so why is it not updating it? Updating object variables? No. Behaviors. Properties. Maximum value, initial value. Apply. Oh, we also want a check mark in the bottom left. So here, I've got to see why these instances aren't displaying the variables that I'm putting into them. Let me see, launch a preview. Okay, so it apparently doesn't live update. So I need premium for it to live update. Premium GDevelop for it to live update. So I may end up having to buy it because I want it to update for me when I'm in the IDE. I don't want it to only update. So I want to see what happens if I go to life meter resource bar and I change the object maximum value to 3. It does not live update on in the preview window. It begins the preview with whatever started. That's not good. We don't want that. So here's the preview, and like we don't want it to only show us the changes we make when we view the preview window, because that means like we won't see live. So I may update to um, yeah, upgrade to get more cloud projects, publishing, multiplayer courses, and credits every month with GDevelop Premium. I may get GDevelop Premium just for this project. Just we'll see. We'll see. This is the debugger that opened. So we're going back to the visual novel, back to the window. So we have the life meter resource bar showing what's in the demo, uh, and then we have Jessica office background 1 2 3, the background that's 1 2 3 4. We have the text that's 5, and we have a button. So we want to have a button right here, like they showed us right here. And then we want to drag it. They made it a little bit smaller as a check mark. So like once you're done reading her, you can like check it off, like using the logic that they're gonna give you. So we want this button to appear above the dialog box. So we're going to set its Z to 6, and we're going to check the dialog panel that it's below. Yes. Okay. So then we're going to check the text dialog boxes on 3. So text is above it, and then we're going to edit it. Make sure the text is here. We're going to see what font we're using. Show more. Choose a font. Choose from the asset store. Charm. So this is the font they included. This is a typical font file, a TTF. You'll find those on like any font website online. That's if you want to get into like really good styling. So like we'll go ahead and do that. I will open up the preview window. It does not show it. Okay, let's see here. Let's see what we did wrong. Outline, we want the text to be white. Why? Did you already miss a class? No, that's not how we want it. We want a blocky text. That's not choose from the asset store. Global objects. Here, we're going to see what resources are in the project. This is a Charm regular and Cantora 1 regular. So I believe they are using Cantora 1. So we're going to check files from our device. Or the files that are uploaded. So we're going to see Cantora 1 regular. Apply. Yeah. And then we're going to make the text a little bit bigger. Font size 40. And that is exactly the in preview image they made us. So we've already going to do that. We're going to save progress. Go through here and we're going to say, hey, I made that exactly as it looked. Now we're going to, nope, we're going to drag the tiled sprite object in the game and adjust its width to fill the entire screen rectangular game window. So it'll look like that. Okay, so we're going to check these off because we just did, I think, the entire thing without reviewing the task list. So my bad. Change the animation of a sprite to drag the sprite object into the screen. And in the properties panel, change the object's animation number to match that character in the image above. So we want to change her animation to 2. We want to make her frustrated. In game, she looks sad, so we want to make her frustrated. Edit object and animations. So her animation 0 is sad, happy, angry, talking. So we want to, and you could actually make her talk by making her flip between what we call in animation flaps. So you could have a talking open, talking close, and just flip between the flaps. So we want to make her angry. So we're going to go to edit, and we're going to go to her properties. And 2, yeah, angry. That's exactly what they wanted from us. We're going to check that off. Create a dialog box with the panel sprite. Drag the panel sprite into and resize it to match the size shown in the image above. We already did that. Yep. Adding and modifying text in the game. Open the text object. Change the object font to Cantora 1 regular from the drop-down menu. See, we in fact we did the troubleshooting on our own and copied the image that we saw, and we already did that. Adjust the font size. Change the text to match the image above. Drag the text object into the game scene from the object list to match the position from the image. Okay, size 50. Yep, assets. Did you already miss class? We already did that. Okay. Add functionality with a panel sprite. Drag the button into the game scene and resize it to match the size shown above. Display values with a resource bar. Open the resource bar object, change its initial value to 4 and its maximum value to 5, and then scroll down and change the default width of its background to 450. So let's go ahead and do that for you. So the resource bar is the health bar. So we're going to life meter. What was it? What was told to us? We're going to drag it into the game. And then in the effects tab inside of the object, I will add some music because it is quiet in here. In the effects tab of the object, add the drop shadow effect and set its color to black with the color picker tool. So we're going to match. So we're going to go to effects. We're going to add the drop shadow effect and set its color to black with the color picker tool. Okay. Do drop shadow. And the color picker tool is, yep. We're just going to select black. And then we're going to preview. And you see the drop shadow, the subtle like shading behind the heart right there, and we can actually make it bigger if we want. We can color of the shadow, alpha, how blurred it is, padding, and I think if I add 30, it'll make it way more visible for you. Yeah. So we've done that. When you come across a text field for a color, you should always be presented with a color picker tool. You can text fields are usually colors are usually in hexadecimal, so that's easy. So it'll look like these. So they wanted us also to say default width. The background to be default width 450. And I think the reason they want 450 is because that's 90 times 5, so 5 parts. So if I drag this any wider, so if I drag it all the way across the screen, it will only, when we do the preview, yeah, only show 5. No matter how many shows in the demo, it only shows 5 in game. All right, and then we're gonna check that off. Discover how Z instance works. So when placing new instances of objects into the game scene, their Z order is automatically set from 1 to 1 higher than the instance with the highest Z order. So basically saying the background was Z order 1. Anytime you place a new object, it's going to be 1 higher than the instance with the highest Z order. So when you place any new instance of object, so like anything new I drag into that window is going to automatically be placed 1 higher than the last highest object. Open the properties panel, select the background tiled sprite object, increase its Z order 1 at a time to see it rise above all other objects. So this is just showing you Z ordering, so we're going to go back to the office background and we're going to slowly increase it. So we're going to 2, so it shrinks our the background starts going through everything. It's no longer the background. We want it to always be in the back. Change alignments with object points. Switch to the points and collisions game scene from the project manager. Observe how this scene's logic is currently set up for the circle sprite to follow the cursor whenever the left mouse button or touch is held. By default, the circle object, so we're going to go and preview that. By default, the circle will not be centered on that point because the action positions the object on its origin point, which is located at the top left of the image. Open the circle object and through the button in the bottom left corner, change the circle object point to centered in the image. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to take this circle, edit object. Open the circle object and through the button in the bottom left corner, change the circle object's origin point. So we didn't need to go in the instance, we needed to go in the blueprint. So preview the game again to see that the circle sprite object is now centered. Okay, so we're going to do that. Edit points, so it wants us to edit it. So let me just double check what they want us to do. By default, the circle object, open the circle object through the button in the bottom left corner, change the circle's object origin point to be centered in the middle image, then preview the game again. They want us to edit points and then change the point to center. Okay, so we're just going to go do that. Edit point. Origin needs to be at its center point. And we'll test this logic once we apply. We click and hold mouse, it drags it wherever our finger is. So. Alright, we've done that. Adjust collision checks with collider masks. Collision mask. Place the collision object into the game scene, and while previewing the game, move the circle object so it touches the collision object. The circle's object animation will change when the collision occurs, but the collision happens before the images appear to overlap. So we're going to go ahead and see what they mean by that. We want to place this in the scene, and then we want to preview. The collision happens before we even actually touch this object. See? Turns green. We want to change that. We want its function to actually be functioning. So the circle object animation will change. Open both the circle and collision objects, and through the button in the bottom left corner, adjust the collision mask of both objects so they roughly match their images. You can add a new point here and add a vertex. So we want to change their objects. We're going to add their collision mask. We want a we don't want a quadrilateral. Drag some out, put the collision map just right on the very edge of it. Apply. And then we want to edit collision mask. Share the same collision mask for all animations. Lock. And we're just checking the instructions. It does say to open both the circle, which is what we just did, and collision object. Adjust the collision mask of both objects so they roughly match their images. So we're going to go into the collision object now. We're going to calculate its collision mask, and we're like, oh no, that's not about right. So we want to use a custom collision mask, and we want to say like right here at the outer tip of this windmill, outer tip of this windmill, outer tip of this windmill, and outer tip of the windmill. And then if we want to be a little bit more specific, we want to say, well, hey, like what if it spins? It'll probably spin to out here. It'll probably spin to about here. Here when it like at the other angle. We give it like about a stop sign shape. Apply. Preview. Now when we drag it, it won't collide until we boop right there. Gonna save. Just collisions. Yeah, see? And they even copied us, they give it a stop sign shape. Right. That is the second chapter, and that is where we're going to be cutting off for today. I appreciate you guys viewing with me. I'm going to upload this as my first session. I will be uploading pretty much every other day or pretty much anytime I have free time, and I have like 2 or 3 hours to myself. I am actively learning for May the 16th. Go ahead and view me on Twitch. We stream every Saturday and Sunday, but I usually stream for myself, like learning this stuff on the weekdays, usually after 5, and then basically I'll be streaming learning GDevelop, the programming and how the software works for my team, and uploading these lessons. You know what? I don't want to be condescending. I don't want that to be the tone of this tutorial or this like you are like if I can do anything, I want to share what I am learning with you while I'm learning with you. I want to be a demonstration for you. So like I'm going to share these like these learning these learning sessions with y'all, and let you basically just get the vibe with me as we basically do a crash course together on GDevelop and get pretty experienced with it. And then we're going to do on May 16th to May the 25th of 2025, we're going to be doing a game jam. So like basically look forward to that. All right, guys. I hope you have a good one. I had a good time, and I wish you the very best. Feel free to stop by on the weekends for our TTRPGs, and stop by anytime I'm streaming for any more activity.